We have Leah. She's a schoolgirl model. Gleek. What is Gleek?
From the Glee Club, like on Glee.
Okay. Jan, okay.
I don't know if I definitely want it.
The part is very you.
People call me the Rachel Berry of drag all the time, so I feel like it's one of
They're
those
not
things.
wrong.
If I dream all the possibilities.
If there was ever a role that was tailor-made for Jan, it's this one. It's peppy, it's annoying.
Your wildest dreams, they will come true.
This is a lot.
Well, Mary, in the words of the Wicked Witch of the West, surrender Dorothy, surrender Jan.
Surrender, Jan, because you're not getting out of this one alive.
Well, it's just obviously the clip of the week featuring the phrase "the Rachel Berry of drag." Now,
Yeah, because
I
we're
know
going in
Jan-
hot. We're starting with Jan in minute 1. We got the feedback and we didn't take it. We are leaning into the Jantasy, and the pause buttons are being slammed right now.
well, it's just interesting that I mean, I know Jan is the one that said it, but they showed it, and she's now this is it. Like, this is what she's got. I just feel like to say, oh, I've been called the Rachel Berry of drag, and then she gets cast and she plays it very well, the Rachel Berry of drag. It's like, well, I guess you have to lean into that now.
There's a part of me, and this is all just, this is my Jantasy. This is my French vanilla Jantasy, so everybody just accept it. But I love, again, the Dogvillian, narrative of last week. It was like, all right, we broke her down, like, and it seemed like she was, heading for the van. It was like, okay, we broke her, we're done. And now this week, now that they've said you're too much, you tone it down, Jan. Now, like, perfect timing. It's like, so we've got this part for you that we think is perfect, but and it's just like really annoying, and she's really loud, and she's basically Leah Michelle, like really problematic. And we just like, this is you, this is for you, and like we need you to like, can you amp it up this week? Like, the fuckery. This is, I'm not saying I love it, but from like if I look at all of this as fiction, I love it because it's so fucked up. And if I look at it as like real and as a human being, I'm like, oh God, this is so fucked up.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the edit alone, I just mentioned the idea that they included this statement is, a choice. But then to like mix in the clips of Jan practicing the singing during the read-through with that music, the dinky dink music, and then Pandora's commentary. Yeah, like, what are they doing here? I was laughing, sure.
It's just so strange because the whole time I kept watching it thinking like you could see, except for this moment of her practicing, which I'm sure there was some Franken editing going on here.
Oh,
but
completely.
You could see, like in the clip of them at the table later, it was as if she was afraid to open her mouth. It was as if she was afraid to say anything because someone was going to be like, Jan, tone it down. And like there's this kind of like, shelter dog quality coming out.
Oh, Mary, that's exactly what I was thinking about. So throughout the episode, or the beginning of this episode, right? They all sit down and they're like, Jan, you're a lot. Yeah, you were a lot.
Yeah,
Jan.
you really
were
are.
a lot,
You're not
right?
seeing it. You're actually too much. Yeah.
And then, okay, they're critiquing her. That's fine. They're in the room with her. So, but then the editors kept showing shots of Jan throughout the beginning of this episode. I don't know if you noticed, but they kept cutting to Jan, and it was always this subdued reaction from Jan.
Yep. Well, and then, we need to talk about this immediately, is a moment that I felt a jolt go through me, and then one of our Marys, Sister Mary Peter, am I getting this right? I always get my P names wrong. I don't want to screw this up. But anyway, I'll look this up and I'll vamp while I'm talking. But he messaged us as well and was like, oh, I'm assuming you guys caught this, but there is this talking head of Jan adjusting her overalls.
Yes.
And it's just, and so, and it's like substitute teacher being frustrated. Sister Mary Paul. If I said Peter,
Yes.
I got my apostles mixed up. Sorry.
Or a folk singing band.
Yes.
Wrong. You know,
yes.
Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Yes. Yeah. All right, Mary. But they're talking about the lipsticks and how basically like Jan won by a tube, you know? And she was like, you know, I expected 1 or 2, you know, lipsticks to have my name. I did not expect there to be 4. And she said, it really blows my mind. And then she's got like these 2 hands. And then she adjusts her overalls. And then it really bothers me. And she does that kind of like peacock hand, you know, where the fingers kind of fly out.
And the phrase, it really bothers me while adjusting what you're wearing, is very new substitute teacher drag. Like, it is
Yes.
very, the kids are out of control. They don't respect me. You know, and and I'm adjusting. Like, this really bothers me, guys. It
Yeah.
really bothers me.
And the fact
Not
that
gonna raise my voice.
Right.
Not gonna raise my
It
voice.
really bothers me. And I like that like one of the straps took like another second of adjustment longer because that was like even that adjustment was not going well. And she looks right into the camera while she says it, which to me is like that the teacher getting real and looking at the students and thinking she can reason with them. This is bothering me. You're upsetting me. You're triggering me now. Like, okay, well, you know, now you've lost them. And then right at the end,
the nuance of her adjusting that strap, it just tells such a story.
so good.
Of how Charlie Jansport is feeling underneath all of this, underneath all of the lights.
yeah, and then reaching for an off-camera drink. This is for me this All-Star season. I've watched it so many times. For this season's it's crazy right for me. Like adjusting your overalls. This has been born, Marys. Adjusting your overalls and what that means. I'm adjusting my overalls about this right now. You know.
Yeah, I'm adjusting my overalls right now.
Yeah.
No, I'm getting serious.
Yeah. Let me just adjust my overalls for a second. Like
I'm not comfortable. Let me get
Yeah.
a little comfortable.
this
Yes.
bothers me. Yeah.
I can control this. Yes.
Yeah. Really blows my mind. I just so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, totally. And, you know, if we're starting this episode talking about Jan, you know, one of the things, I went to see this at a bar this week at Scandals. And, you know, it was a pretty crowded bar. The idea was that Jan did very well and probably should have won. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, I think that you could say the same about Pandora Box this week.
Okay, yeah.
Which
No,
I know,
I'm
you know,
getting what you're putting down
is you know, maybe an unpopular opinion so far in this podcast, but I think facts are facts. Like, you know, we're judging them by what we're seeing on the show, and like facts are facts. Like, she was great in the acting challenge. She totally got the tone of it. She totally like in the ways that some like other queens like Akira were kind of missing the beats. I felt like Pandora knew the beats to hit in these terrible drag race acting challenges. And
Yes.
you know, I certainly have thoughts on Kylie, but I think this week it's fair to say that like Pandora deserved to at least be in the top. Like that was a great performance.
Sure, because I certainly have thoughts on Kylie, which we'll talk about. But back to Jan here, you know, her runway was probably
great.
one of the best. Yeah, one of the best of the week of this week, and yeah. So I'm glad she was in the top. In terms of her critique by the judges, it was like last week never happened. It was just odd. It was just odd that they were like, oh, my God, you did this week what we told you not to do. Good job, Jan.
Yeah.
It was odd.
It was weird. And like, and I can see, because there is also like a really logical narrative of like, that I think Eureka was kind of getting at, where like, there are times and places to turn it on and turn it off. And like Eureka's kind of a great example because she can be a huge energy and drag, but like knew in last week's challenge, I got to really tone it down, or I got to like make it more conversational and more connective. And I think that shows a sort of emotional intelligence that I almost feels obvious, that there is a part of me, I guess, to kind of be the devil's advocate for everyone who's like, enough about Jan, 1 star. It does kind of feel like common sense to me in a bit of a way of like, well, yeah, right. The acting challenge, they would expect you to be at a 27 because you're playing a character. And in the play yourself challenge, they want you to chill out a little bit. Like that isn't that hard to comprehend. I guess there is a part of me, while I'm loving Jan's journey as a frustrated substitute teacher, is also like, it's not that complicated. Like,
Right.
You know?
Just read the room, read the writing on the wall, and know what you're supposed to do.
Right.
You know, and the other thing is like, who else could have played the Rachel Berry, right? The Leah Michelle witch. Who else could have done that?
I mean,
that,
to this-
maybe Ginger.
Well, I almost felt like it was so perfect for Jen. It was kind of like when they did the Kardashians musical and they had Alexis Michelle who does, you know, Kris Jenner, and it was almost like, you know, there are those times where a certain role or a certain challenge, it's like, oh my God, you're just like you're feeding baby food to a baby right now, you know, like this is so
you have
obvious.
to take the beach ball. You have to take the beach ball when they give it to you because that's what they intended. And I feel like if Jan leaned in and was like, no, I need to change my narrative here, I think they would have punished her.
I think it just would not have worked, but it is definitely a little hypocritical if you're kind of following the canon of the show, and that like they challenge these queens to not just come out on stage and say, well, this is who I am, this is what I do, and they're like, well, we don't want this, but then it's like you would almost think then, well, here is almost the bait of like, well, Jan, you're going to do what you always do, or are you going to take a challenge? You know, like I could also see that narrative of like, well, no, I'm not going to take the easy role. I'm going to do the one that's a challenge, but she totally could have bombed doing that, you know?
Right. It's more of a risk, maybe a higher reward, maybe in terms of like everything. But it sounds like, you know, just lean into safe for now.
Yeah.
And she was more than safe. You know, she got praised, which I think was kind of them to not make her safe.
Yeah, I think that if for her to have done this week's challenge and not have gotten any feedback on the runway would have been like, well, okay, so well, you know what I mean? Like we needed something, but I also feel like she must just be like every night in that like La Quinta, you know, hotel room, just being like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be, and just like tugging at her overalls furiously, you know.
I think she's fine.
I don't, you know what I mean? Of just like recalibrate, Jan, recalibrate.
You know, I mean, back to this. I don't know. Is it an honor? Is it a title? The Rachel Berry of drag? Like, yeah, it's one way to lean into it and then take the insult away by doing really well in the challenge, right? Because it's an insult, right? To be called that is an insult. Am I wrong?
Well, that's what I was going to say is like I think you lean into something unless it's like, well, you're kind of the like, you know what I mean? Like you think about it, it's like, oh, saying that somebody is, we know what that means, and Pandora explains it. It's annoying, it's loud, it's over, you know, melodramatic, it's over the top. Like these aren't things that people love. So there is also this quality at the whole time, and this is I did get the sense that Jan was picking up on this, but didn't want to like respond to it, or at least that's the narrative I wrote in my head of like, all of this is like so passive aggressive and such a majorly backhanded compliment. Like I am like, talk about Dogville. Now they are all smiling and spitting in my face and telling me, oh my God, you're going to be perfect as this awful human being, this terrible character that everybody hates. You're just so perfect for her. You're so good at it. Like, where do you go with that? You know?
Well, and you know what? The other thing is to say a drag queen should not be loud and over the top
I just
and a
don't
little annoying.
get
I mean,
it.
it's just kind of like, well, isn't that drag, right?
Right.
Over the top?
I know. It's kind of like whenever I, you know, poo-pooing actors, you know, like oh my craft, and they're so precious and whatnot. It's like, well, how else do I expect them to be? Like, again, they're not all going to be Toni Collette doing Hereditary and being like, well, you know, it's a job, you know. So like, you have to kind of just accept, doesn't it come with the territory? If part of someone's job is potentially to like be crying on stage every night or having a big monologue or blah, 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 like, wouldn't you expect them to maybe be a little emotional or dramatic so that they can kind of like go to those places? Like,
Yeah.
you know,
And,
like,
and not for nothing, I don't think any of the girls, with the exception of maybe Ginger, could have played this role as, I don't know, effortlessly. I mean, she knew exactly what to do. She came up with all those moves herself. You know, she sung it all. Like, she did it.
Jan and Ginger could have switched because I could have seen each of them doing the other one's role and figuring it out. Like, I think they could have switched. I also, like, not for nothing, if Ginger got to be Jessica, she would have had another win this week. Like,
Oh, I know.
like I would have loved to see it because, I mean, she's definitely like the best actor in the room. Like, I think Ginger in some ways is A, she's certainly emerging as a front runner for me. B, I think she could have played pretty much any of those roles. And C, I think I figured out, I think she is our narrator. I know we kind of talked about that a little bit last week. For me, I feel like Trinity is now more of a commentator and Ginger feels more narrator, you know?
Oh, Trinity. TKB. Can we talk about that runway?
Yes.
Oh, my God. But you know what the best part about it was? I don't know if you watched Untucked, but it was just Pandora and Trinity in Untucked. And it was Trinity on one side of the couch, and the rest of the couch was taken up by her train.
Oh, it's ridiculous. I mean, this train.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Throw mama from a train. My goodness. I mean, and the bar blew up when she walked out.
Yeah, I mean, she, you know, I was running some errands yesterday, and I was walking, and I was thinking about Trinity, because, you know, and I was like, you know, there is a possibility, and, like, I'm not trying to get anyone's hopes up, but it's like, her runways are all great. She's been killing every challenge except for the first one, and who remembers that? She has a win under her belt.
She looks great in the workroom.
She looks great in the workroom. She's giving great TV. She gives great commentary. I was like, you know what? There's really no reason why Trinity couldn't go to the finale. And then
She should win.
And I thought, and you know what? There's really no reason why Trinity couldn't win this thing. And then
Correct.
I just thought, like, I was thinking about recording the episode. Like, if Trinity won, we'd have to do a hot take, like, immediately. But it would just be, like, a very emotional, like, only Marys that, like, only the inner circle could listen to because it just be very raw. But it was like, Trinity K. Bonet could bounce all the way back to the top.
Mary,
It was just a fun feeling.
She is the top.
She's the trade. She's the trade, apparently. She's the
You
top.
want to be on top? Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wear a suit.
Yeah. And I loved her choice in the challenge. I mean, it was not a winning role, and I think she knew that.
I think she knew that going in. Yeah.
And she played the part. She knew where she was. She wasn't trying to do too much. I feel like that's what Raja got kind of sidetracked with, is she's like, oh, I have to do something. It's like, well, you have to do the list, but you're probably putting in too much. I will say this, though. Ross and Michelle not liking the voice, it's like, I think it was a talking head with Raja. It's like, well, that's the voice I got. That's what I brought. Like, deal with it. That's my character.
Yeah, it's just Aunt Michelle and Uncle Ross aren't feeling the voice. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was feeling the voice. Is that weird?
Same. I love the voice. And when she was kind of practicing it in the workroom with Trinity, I was like, oh, this is funny.
Hilarious.
I love this. This is ridiculous. Like,
Yes.
I couldn't understand what the problem was. I disagreed with that change. I thought whenever that little voice came out, it gave her more nuances to play with.
Correct. She was, putting on something else. I think, and it was also a good balance to TKB.
Yes. It meant that TKB could just do what she was doing, which was a little bit more of the straight man of the two, so to speak. And it was like, well, the more Raja leans into what she's doing, the more that'll amplify the difference with Trinity, and like that dissonance is going to be funny. Blah blah blah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. In terms of Pandora. Another kind of standout here. I mean, talk about a queen that was doing things that Russ and Michelle did not tell her to do.
I felt like she came in and she's like, I got this. Like, it was kind of like watching Bianca do a challenge in season 6. Where it was like, oh, you just know, this is what you know how to do. Like,
she could play old ladies.
Old lady. Yeah. I mean, when she came out as Joan Crawford, I was like, oh, this is the drag race I want. She's Joan Crawford with the straitjacket axe in that coat. I was like, this is great. And you found a
Yes.
new bit with the hangers that I thought was fresh.
Oh my God, so funny. Yeah.
It was. I mean, she was, and as Myrtle Snow, like it was very much. I wrote down that she, and I want to make sure because it was very much a kind of like a role that like Mary Gross would play in the 80s. You know?
Yeah, she added. Is it just me? Pandora kind of added a speech impediment of sorts. Not impediment. Just a quirk.
There was a thing. There was almost as if she had, and I don't know. Maybe it was even a bit of a Frances Conroy thing because she's got a little bit of a. She's got a little bit of a mouth, you know. She and Drew Barrymore kind of have fun mouths. You know what I mean?
Like I feel like her R's were W's.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. Yeah,
Very, very funny. The model of the world.
right.
Was good.
It was good. I felt like she really, like, was just to me was an effortless standout. Whereas I think with Kylie Sinoik, Love Hewitt, Michelle Gellar, there was certainly a lot more effort, and I don't know if it fully got there for me, if I'm going to be honest. As a rabid actrosexual who loves Jessica Lange nuances, I don't know if she fully got there. She got close, but she didn't get there the way Pandora or Ginger might have, you know?
That's probably true. I will say, you know, watching it twice, I watched it at a bar and I watched it again. It was good, and it was there were levels throughout. It wasn't just that speech that I thought she did well at, and I think that it's a hard role. It's a hard role to keep up. You know,
it's a really hard role. And no, there were things she did that I did not expect. Like when she got big and raspy on like, "Where are you now?" Like that was great, and she was great. I think that for a role like that in a moment like that, like I'll never be satisfied. Like I wanted to be like divine levels of over the top. You know what I mean? I want it to be like Mink Stole in the beginning of Desperate Living, just like screaming out the window at kids. I want that level, or else like, you know, I'm not gonna come. You know, so
well, Jessica Lange is over the top, is a drag character. It's also very iconic. Especially if you watched all of the American Horror Stories. Like Jessica Lange is this, you know, force of sorts. And she did very, very, very well. She also had that runway, which I know I'm watching True Blood these days, so I'm influenced, but it was totally Fantasia Dancer. You don't watch that show,
No.
but it's a vampire bar, and there's like go-go dancers.
Well, you know. Sookie Stackhouse. I hate that name. It sounds like pancakes. I was watching The Pit Stop, which I feel like has evolved into something even bigger than a recap show. In terms of the editing and the conversation.
Finally.
Yeah. I mean, it's great. Like it's so. I think Trixie's great at it. I think the guests have all been really great. Like it's. I remember when it used to be like 6 minutes of like, let's quickly go through the facts, and it's just really evolved. But I try not to watch it before we record because it definitely influences my thoughts. But I needed.
I haven't seen an episode yet.
Oh my God, the one with Kennedy goddamn Davenport was on. She sang a little song about wearing tights.
When we're done recording, I'm like done with drag until. You know, Spain or until the next episode of All Stars. Like,
or like Holland season 2 starting in a couple weeks.
So what was? What did they talk about?
So anyway, they were talking about the looks, and I loved Kylie's look, but they were like, well, I don't know if this was necessarily goth, but it was great, and I thought, well,
yes.
that's true, and. It's a fair point. Did she look incredible? Absolutely. Like, absolutely. But did it fulfill the brief? Maybe not. But I also...
That was most goth was Jan.
Jan, that little coffin backpack. I thought that was cute.
What a little cute.
Jan Sport backpack. Oh, backpack queen.
Ginger was also it was pretty goth, the Victorian
kind of a Lydia Dietz kind of energy, like Lydia Dietz on Broadway. Yeah.
Yes. If I'm being honest, I don't think any of them really nailed it except for Jan.
Jan really like went. I think she went the most full on with it. I think, yeah, like Akira's was cool, but I was like, well, just I don't know if this is goth, but it's cool. I mean, I think Pandora's was an interesting story on the runway.
Sure. Yeah.
And-
no. I mean that I think is there's a gothness to it. I don't think her makeup did her any favors, but it was pretty goth.
Yeah.
Eureka dressed as Frankenstein's bride, and I'm like,
I really thought Eureka was going to be in the bottom, both from the performance and the runway this week. I was very
You did?
Yes, I thought that she kind of stunk. To be honest, like if we're just gonna call spades, I think that she kind of stunk.
Tell me about how she stunk.
Like I think she was kind of play acting, you know, where you smile through all the lines, even though you're performing different emotions. Like she was play acting, and I was like, what? You know, and I can recognize that because I think that's what I would do. Like I don't. Remember that time we tried to like pretend to be. Remember that time? I think it was in Only Marys or something, but we were like pretending to do daddy voices, and I like can't because I just sound like somebody's fun aunt, you know, and so it just doesn't because I don't get tough like that, you know.
It's like when you're playing pretend with little kids, and you're. You know,
oh, you killed me.
You're acting that you're acting. Yeah. Oh, God, you got me.
Oh, no, you
I'm
got
gonna
me.
get you.
Yeah.
I got you.
That's what she was doing, and I needed to lean in, especially Eureka. It's like you just, your bowl of fun soup. Like you're playing a Kathy Bates character.
I know. But Mary, before we go any further, you can't just drop that little pebble into the pond and not expect me to call it out. So can you at least try? Give us what's the daddy voice, Mary? Give us a little daddy voice.
Oh man, this is gonna be tough because
I want to hear the aunt through the daddy.
Yeah, I mean, like default, I'm aunt, and then at best, I'm like your uncle who lives in a condo. You know, so like. All right.
Ouch. I live in a condo. Well,
oh
I live in
no,
an apartment.
I also like I dream of like meeting a man who's like an uncle who lives in a condo. Like that's my dream man. But all right, let's see. You have to. Okay, what would I say? Like, oh God. Okay. What did Daddy say? Clean up this mess. No video games for a week.
No son of mine is ever gonna. What would go for it. Go for it, Mary. One more try. One
more try. I'm gonna try to be a dad. Like this is.
Tell me to take off my pants and get on the bed.
Oh my God! All right. This is a free episode. You're not even charged $2.99 a minute to listen to this, Marys. This is Colin attempts to do phone sex. Okay. Do you ever see that episode of Rocko's Modern Life where he becomes a phone sex operator?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I feel like right now. All right. Okay, here we go. I'm going to tell you to take off your pants and get on the bed.
Yeah, okay, great.
Well, if ever there was a time to talk about therapy.
And I do love to talk about therapy.
I honestly don't know anyone who wouldn't benefit from it these days, myself included.
I couldn't agree more, Mary, and it's super accessible now thanks to BetterHelp. That's H-E-L-P.
BetterHelp connects you with a licensed professional therapist safely and privately.
You can be matched with someone within 24 hours. And with phone or video sessions available, scheduling a session is as easy as ordering a lovely cheese pizza just for me.
And much like Selena, I love pizza. I also love that you can send a message to your counselor basically at any time and actually get a response.
And if you want to change counselors, no problem. It's both free and easy.
BetterHelp is available worldwide, and their counselors are licensed and trained in everything from depression and anxiety to grief, relationships, sleep, self-esteem, and more.
There are so many people using BetterHelp right now. They've recruited more counselors in all 50 states.
It's more affordable than traditional in-person talk therapy, and there's even financial aid available if you need.
Marys, if you're interested in trying BetterHelp, get 10% off your first month by going to betterhelp.com/allrightmary. That's H-E-L-P.
That's right. Join over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health. That's betterhelp.com/allrightmary, and that's H-E-L-P.
All right, Mary. Mary, I want to talk about this challenge as a whole a little bit before we, maybe talk about. We didn't really talk about Akira. But what I think would have made this challenge more interesting for me, because it was so specific to the American Horror Story kind of world, with the exception of the Joan Crawford thing, which I thought was the best idea. I think the concept would have been more interesting and funnier if it was just witches in general, not witches that were these characters from the American Horror Story world. So, for instance, you had the Wicked Witch of the West comes in, right? You have her as one of the queens that wants to be Coven Girl. You could even have Glinda come in as
good
like
witch.
a change of You could have the witch from Into the Woods come in.
Yeah, with the rutabagas.
Yeah, you could have one of the witches from Practical Magic come in.
Diane Wiest and Stockard Channing. Oh, now that's the dual role that you want. You could have
Correct.
Angelica Houston from The Witches.
Oh, completely. Yes, completely. Or if you want to go really obscure and keep the children on their toes, you bring in the neighbor from Rosemary's Baby.
I swear to God, if Pandora Box came out in like a floral house dress and a headpiece on and was like, around the brand new carpet,
I just think,
He's Roman and I'm Minnie, okay?
and then have Jessica Lange, and then have, the Emma Roberts character. But I think change up the references and make it a little bit more gay.
Yeah, I think because there might be people out there listening thinking, but what about the Sanderson sisters? And, I hear that.
Oh, sure.
I think Hocus Pocus is getting enough love. Aren't they making a sequel?
Yes, and that would have been a great reference to appease that generation, right?
Yes, it would have been.
Why not?
Yeah,
why not?
I know. I'm being, salty mama about it, but I'm like, all right,
Because
that would make sense.
Part of what I found limiting in this challenge is that they also did have to kind of reference very specific characters in this world, particularly Ginger, right? Being this like fashionista. And then even the Rachel Berry, it was just an interesting energy to have in the room, but also like, why is she here? Is it just because Jan Sport is on this season?
Okay,
you know what I mean?
So that's what I wanted to bring up was like, it seems like this is technically a sort of Murphy-verse acting challenge.
Oh, Murphyverse.
But they're calling
That's
it
why.
American Horror Story. There's I think there's a brief reference to Pose to kind of like...
Oh, yep, that's right.
There's a brief to kind of like expand
At the
it.
end.
I'm like, I just opened up Ryan Murphy's filmography to be like, well, what else has he...
Because didn't they say like, oh, we could go back to the 80s and,
yeah.
House Down. Yeah, right.
I think if they really wanted to do it, if they really wanted to be like political, they could have had someone in a what was her name? I would say from for God's sake, from the O.J. Simpson trial, the lawyer with the hair.
Oh, Sarah Paulson.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. What was her name? Marsha Clark. I kept wanting to say Marsha Wallace, and I was like, no. That is the voice of Mrs. Krabappel and the theater teacher from Teen Witch. Rest in peace.
R.I.P. Yes.
Yeah, rest in peace. A Nip
I
Tuck
think
reference, Willow was
Sure.
on Nip Tuck. They could have.
Sure. Nip Tuck, absolutely. What else did Ryan? Oh, he did that stupid show with Ben Platt, didn't he?
The Politician. He did The
Yeah,
Politician.
He did that show. He did Hollywood,
He
right?
did Hollywood. I only got through one episode of that.
Very sexy, of course.
Yeah, he did Popular. Remember Popular back in the day?
No, I never watched that show.
It was on the WB. It was.
I wonder, Mary's out there, chime in. What famous witches should this challenge have included, right? If it was going to go out of the Ryan Murphy verse and it was just going to be about witches, which I think is so dragtastic.
Yes.
Which witches could they have brought in? I'm also thinking like, why not go to Lady Macbeth? I don't know, make some references here. Although maybe they should steer clear of Shakespeare.
I think they learned their
we know how
lesson.
that-
They
they
did try that before, and it was I think Kennedy's earring fell off in the pot of brew. Yeah, and even thinking like, oh, if they had done a challenge like this earlier in the season when they had more queens in the room, and it could have been, just like almost like a drag con for witches, just like a broom con. I don't know what you'd call it.
Broom con.
Broom con, and like yes, it's all these different witches. So there could be a Salem witch, there could be a Wicked
the
witch.
Craft. You could have Firuza Balk.
You could have a Firuza Balk queen. I mean. More witches in drag.
All of them witches.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then a mini Castevet, absolutely.
Yeah. Maybe some pit crew member comes out and goes clickety clackety.
I was gonna say
clickety clackety.
Where is Black Stanley? What was his name? Black. What was that guy's name? What was all the
the goat.
The goat.
Yes, I know who you. Black Jacob. I can't remember the name of it.
Black Stanley. Yeah. That can't be it.
The Vivitch.
Yeah.
That's from the Vivitch, everybody.
The witch.
Yeah, I think
Black Phillip.
Oh, Black Phillip.
Yeah.
Sure, Black Phillip. Come on, Bruno.
Yeah.
I just think it could have been, I don't know, bigger. That's all.
Yeah. Well, it was certainly longer. This was a
Mary.
really long acting challenge.
It was.
was.
How long was it? Did you time it by any chance?
I think there was a
I
dinner
feel like
break.
It was like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Seriously.
They did this in
It was an
rep.
intermission.
Yeah. This is the Angels in America of acting challenges. Yeah.
They needed a union break.
Yes. This was some people they would just do like act 1 one night and then act 2 the next night, but this was a whole weekend performance, and it was a long challenge. I appreciated it because it gives everybody like ample opportunity to shine.
Oh, Mary, there's no question. I'm glad that they're not Franken editing it so that we're missing, the actual script, which they've done in the past.
Yeah.
And I think yes, I want to see everything. It's like Snatch Game. I would like to see everything.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing it for that long, like, let's see all the facts, ma'am. I want to make sure you're not, constructing something here.
So we definitely got to see, I mean, I'm sure there was a lot of editing still, but we definitely got to see a significant challenge. I just don't know. I feel like Drag Race at this point is such a juggernaut that you would think that the kind of writers that they could get could just be, I mean, it's like, you know what, I'm trying to be nice, but it's just like, these don't have to be so flim-flammy,
Correct. No, these could be standalone things that they could, further promote and market, and people can watch again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that there's something missing here. That why are acting challenges always so terribly scripted? Like, what is that about? I have to say how I feel. Why are they always so terribly scripted? And
you're right.
I think like, oh, no one wanted to call Peaches Christ. No one wanted, like, that's what I feel like is missing, is getting people who do this.
Coco Peru.
Yeah, who do this professionally. Who are like, yeah, we take an idea and then we put it in drag, and like, they are not, Drag Race is far from inventing the wheel. If anything, like, they're like, look, we're rolling a wheel. And it's like, this is not a wheel,
Peaches Christ is the best example. That's who to hire here to get this done. There's so many ideas that are left untouched. But it begs the question, what was the last successful acting challenge?
Well,
Written wise.
Well, I guess Grey's Anatomy had its moments, I think. But I mean, I just feel like these should be laugh a minute. Like, these should be, what I'm thinking of is, they're all edited. So you think about a good example would be like an SNL, like, edited, like, a short film, where it's not a live
Sure. Yep. A digital
skit.
short.
A digital short. That's what I'm trying to think of. Yeah. And like the really good ones, it's like the editing is tight, and it's like there's a joke every 20 seconds, maximum. And I feel like it kind of, I don't know, why can't that same quality show up on Drag Race? Why can't that same level of writing show up on Drag Race?
The last one, I think of RuPaul's Empire. I thought that one was very funny. I thought the Scream challenge in season 6 was very funny.
That one was funny, yeah.
What was the one in season 9? That was the 90210.
90210.
90210.
Which,
Shea
but like,
Coulee was hilarious. Yes.
well, I think that there's a difference between where the queen's funny, but was the script funny? Because I think if you just read that script, it's not like that was what was funny about Shea Coulee was everything she brought to this role of Grandria. But
Right.
I mean, I just feel like the jokes on the page,
That was not fun. That was not one of the best like acting challenges for sure in terms of the jokes on the page. Yeah. And then season 10, do you remember?
they did. That was Breast World.
Oh no.
Which, yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Weird concept. Randy Rainbow came in at the end. It was so weird.
So weird. Now here is an idea that just popped into my little head. Is part of the challenge that the script is terrible? Because if the script was really good, the queens don't have to work as hard. So like there is also like everyone's bitching and moaning how there's never good acting challenges, including me a few minutes ago. But and whether or not it makes for good TV is important.
Well, they want people to fail, right? They
Yeah.
do want somebody has to do poorly. I don't think they want people to fail, but somebody does poorly, or they at least needs to be edited that way.
Right. So all the
in a
jokes
way.
can't land on their own. Like it can't
Right.
be, a snappy little, Billy Wilder script, like it because that's too easy. Huh. All
Well,
right.
I think
Yeah.
of John Waters, right? Like the script is purposefully bad. The acting is bad. Like it's not. It's a style, and I don't think RuPaul's Drag Race writers are doing anything like that. I think they're like, all right, let's put something on TV. It has to last this amount of time. We need this many characters. It's a hard challenge for the writers to write this. So I do want to give some compassion that like, shit, what are we going to do? Oh, Jan's in this season? Great. We'll do a Rachel Berry character. Like...
But I feel like
it's
SNL writers do this every week. They have to and can have skits with like many people in them, and I just
yeah, but they have people acting it out, and sometimes the actors are collaborating with the writers. The writers will like go through a scene and then take some of the ad libbing and make it the words.
I think that if they can figure out. Every week, Drag Race can figure one out every season.
Agreed.
Consult with an old contestant for God's sake. I don't know, but I don't know. I'm of two minds about this. Part of me wants really funny acting challenges because I want really great TV, and part of me gets the idea of like, well, then how much of a challenge is it? I don't know. Just a thought. Marys, are there any acting challenges we're forgetting that you're like, this one was great? I mean, the season
especially
4
recently.
Yeah, because the season 4 one, the Get Those Nuts Away From My Face. Listen, I've gone back and
Emmy.
yeah, yeah. Here's the deal, Max Mochnik. I've gone back and watched season 4, and I don't even get into a whole tangent about this, but like season 4 is really cringy. It is the cringiest season. I do think one of the contestants may be responsible for a large percentage of that. But
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, trying to be nice, but
yeah.
it's
may the odds be ever in your favor, darling.
ever in your favor.
Ever in your favor.
But even beyond her, there is just this really cringy tone and this really cringy sense of humor, and that acting challenge, the whatever it is, the Queens Behind Bars, it's fine. Honestly, the Latrice part is probably the funniest part.
No, the funniest part is when she says, I kind of like it.
Oh, well, Kenya is like iconically terrible, but
Kills it.
yeah.
It's so good.
Well, that's
It's
where it
so
goes to like
good.
John Waters territory. You've got this
Yes.
little weirdo with these like totally miscast. Underappreciated. I think didn't she go home for that the first time?
Yes, she did, unfortunately. Oh, God.
These
no appreciation.
No appreciation. These acting challenges. Queens in Space, I think in season 3 was actually pretty good, or better than what we've seen lately. I do remember that being a little kind of funny. Season 5 was the telenovelas, which were fine.
Very funny. I like that a lot, and that's because of Jinx.
Yes, but it's like the performers or the scripts,
Yeah, well, yeah, Jinx, and I thought Coco did very well.
Well, yeah, in her own iconically terrible, in her own John Waters kind of way. Yeah.
Sure.
So, Anyway, actually, I can think of one that I loved. It's from All Stars 2, the sequels, the sequels.
Oh,
Those were
yeah.
great. Those honestly,
but they were broken up. They were broken up into duos.
Yeah, so there were 3 different ones. They were just duos, but those I remember being like the Katya and Detox one. Granted, the 2 of them killed it, but that was like some SNL level of good.
Yeah, no, that's true. And they had lines. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. No, very funny. That's very funny.
Oh, that's very funny.
We took a long tangent talking about these acting challenges.
Well, I think it's fair. Yeah.
But speaking of a queen that I think got the shortest end of the stick here is Akira. Like this role could have been funny. I don't want to discount Miss Geist here, but it's a hard role to make funny.
I really think that when you have to play annoyed, I just think, it's kind of like when you have to be petulant in some way, I just think it's a comedic dead end. I just don't think it's funny. And I think you could see Akira just couldn't find she was cracking the claws but wasn't finding any meat in those claws,
There's really only one B. Arthur. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to create that type of energy in the room, it has to be so big and the jokes need to be funny.
Yes.
I mean, there was that one part, I wrote this down. It was slightly cringy. Excuse me while I slap you by slapping myself. There was nothing for her to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then for RuPaul to, I don't know, Mary. What did you think about RuPaul's advice to Eureka with there's 100 ways to say something. How do you do? How do you do?
The Valerie Cherish approach to acting. Yeah. Yeah. It's like you just keep manipulating the sounds until you find, it's like trying to figure out the combination on a lock. Just keep manipulating the numbers,
Right. I don't know if that was great advice.
Well, I mean, I think this was something I thought about a lot when I did In the Details. I did the Cherishing Valerie episodes, and I was thinking with Valerie, when she does this on the comeback, it's a sign of the kind of actor that she is that she's not the kind of actor who's coming at it from let me figure out who this character is, or figure out why it makes sense for them to say that, where is the natural humor here. It's more of let me just manipulate the mechanics of a moment and just keep rearranging until we find an arrangement that works. But I have no emotional attachment whatsoever or even understanding of why one works better than the other,
Right. I mean, and also it's a, beady little TV show. It's we'll just say it differently,
Well, I think that's also, we're talking about just acting in general, but certainly in an acting challenge like this where they have a limited period of time. I mean, I think a lot of people would say Michelle giving line readings is not great direction, and even to the point of getting onto the set and doing a "let me show you how it's done" moment.
Well, she did a line reading for Akira too. She was like, "No, you're pitchy," right? She told them.
Oh no, she did it multiple times to multiple people.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest,
she's done this.
Yeah. The biggest example, though, and we haven't talked about this yet, is and I think this is a good time to talk about it. Is it's when she's coaching Kylie Sonique Love, Hewitt Michelle Gellar, but she gets up and is like, "Here, let me show you how to do your monologue." And I mean, I love watching a middle-aged woman overact on television. I'll watch that all day. You could do the Clockwork Orange needles under my eyelids and I'd watch it all night. But there was a part of me that was like, I'm sorry, but we already have a BSA, and she showed up on a Zoom screen about 20 minutes ago, Michelle. So I just can't give it to you this week. I'm sorry.
The thing about Michelle doing Kylie's part is after she did it, I was like, was that supposed to be better? I didn't think it was good, and I feel bad because I love Michelle, and I'm sorry, Michelle, you're not listening, but
she's not listening.
I didn't think she was good.
Well, it was kind of like Eureka, where it was like me trying to be a daddy. It was like, why don't you take off your pants and get on the bed? Like, are you wet yet? You close?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I just
And a big shout out to BSA nominated Ross Matthews for pretending that Michelle did very well.
Oh, certainly. I mean, I think that was part of the job. It was like, okay, if ever there was a moment, this is it. I mean,
Queen supporting queens.
yes. Queen supporting queens, and I love it. I love to see it, as the kids say.
Don't you?
Yeah.
You love to see what?
It.
That's what I love
Yeah,
to see.
how did I wish we could track the emergence of I love to see it. That just became a thing, and I'm not tired. I don't really say it, but I love to see it.
Great, man.
I didn't plan that.
Michelle doing Kylie's part was cringe. I gotta say though, if we're gonna give a cringe award for this episode, it's not the line readings. It's Ross saying "good" in
my
that
God.
high-pitched whisper voice after Kyria says, "No, you're pitchy that."
I
last time."
wrote that down. I loved it. It was
Oh my god!
proud coach.
Good.
Proud coach. Good.
Good.
Oh, I lived.
Good.
I wish there was a finger that went with it.
Because it was so genuine too. Like I do feel like Ross was like, "Oh, yeah, I really want to. I want the audience to see that I'm being supportive."
But there's also a bit of a like. It almost felt like he was watching, like he was her ice skating coach, and she had just nailed the triple axel. Good. Like there was almost a yes, kind of. There was a thing
not
about
even
it.
that big. It was smaller than that. To
No,
me,
it was
Mary.
small.
It was like
but it was a very it was a strong reaction for like not a huge accomplishment. That's what I'm trying to say. Like it was like good, but it was like, well, she was okay. Like
it's giving the weakest link, or like the kid in the cast that's the worst.
yes.
The motivation they need.
Yes.
Like I've been there so many times where it's like this little baby cannot sing a note. So you have to go to the zone of proximal development, and it's just like find them getting a success and then validate that.
Yeah.
And that's what he was doing. He was like, "Oh no, good." And it's like it wasn't that good.
Yeah, it's more of like, well, better. It was more of better.
And Michelle, I think, also didn't really want to play. She's like, "Okay, you got it, Akira. We're moving on."
Yeah, I think they were like, all right, well, I think the producers told us you're probably going home this week, so let's just move on. Let's just gaslight Jan some more.
Oh yeah! Oh my God! Oh, you said it.
I
said
know.
It, Mary.
I said I wasn't going to say it, and I said it, so it's been said.
You said it, Mary. Let's talk about the Best Supporting Actress this week, which is The Coin.
She did look like a coin. She looked like a big silver dollar.
Oh, Angela Bassett. I gotta say, I appreciate gay Akira for pointing out the nuance of her mouth before she smiles. That's a gay person.
Yes, that's what like appreciating an actress is about, is when you can like talk about what her smile nuance is. This was, there are times, sometimes Jennifer Tilly's on Drag Race and Latrice is like, Oscar nominee Jennifer Tilly doesn't get any better than that. And she doesn't mean a word of it. And then there's times where they have a guest like this where it was like, they're crying, I'm crying, we're all crying. Like this was like a genuine like, oh no, this was a get. This wasn't, hey girls, it's Scarlett, how's it going,
Oh, I know. No, this was a get.
Yeah.
Like when the producer came into the room and told the other producers, Angela's in.
Yeah,
It was
she's
huge news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was, she comes on that screen and I was just like, are you kidding me? Like,
Angela Bassett.
Angela
I
Bassett.
fucking love her.
Ugh.
Yes, Mary.
And honestly, her
Yes.
advice was great.
No, that's it. That's
great
that's the thing.
advice.
I wrote Angela Bassett giving awesome advice for this bullshit challenge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And the way that she delivered it, I mean, if she wanted to
know.
read, stereo instructions in German, I would have listened. But for her to say, take the good and use it, take the bad and use it, and kind of,
Oh, she says, take the bad.
and she like
and
laughs
use
while
it.
she says it, and I'm just like, she's not being maudlin. It's just like, and that's when my favorite line is, because you got to get what you need and all that you want, and I just burst into tears. I don't even know what you mean. Okay, I'm Helen Hunt. Okay.
Oh my God. And on a screen, I love it. I'm glad that the girls were also like, I don't know, kids in a candy store, looking at Mr. Wonka.
I love that Raja was able to do the ear tug of, I know the song, I wrote it. Like,
I
Raj
know,
could
right
go to
at the
bed
end
that
there.
night going, I made Angela Bassett laugh. Like, this is a good day. This is a good day.
Yeah.
Even if in the
And
bottom
for
this
Angela-
week, you know?
Exactly. And for Angela to give us Tina too. I mean, like that is like she read the assignment.
She knew
I'm
her
going on this
audience.
gay TV show. Yes.
I know what they
Yes,
want.
Mary.
I know what they want. You guys want me to do a little bit of Tina? Yeah, I get it.
It's like I know that she got kind of some critique for being on Celebrity Drag Race, but it's like Vanessa Williams knowing the show she's on and doing the thing. She did what she needed to do. She did what we wanted her to do. You know?
And I don't remember what feedback she got because I feel like I remember being delighted, but maybe she was a little on.
She really wanted to win.
Oh, maybe it was a little much. Who was that? I could rewatch a couple episodes of Celebrity Drag Race. The one with the guys. That one I would
know.
rewatch that one in a second.
God, I love that one.
That one is a little gem that you don't expect. That one is a little.
And it was the
gem.
first episode.
Yeah.
It was the first episode.
That's
Yeah.
like
No.
in the Hall of Fame of great episodes. That we could do is that episode again.
Yes. That's a good idea. Vanessa Williams doing Drag King it was a delight. Like she brought her chops. I don't know. That's all I have to say.
I'm always happy to see Vanessa Williams. I don't care if she's mean in real life, whatever. My fantasy is
Yeah, I
that
don't
she's
care either.
she's
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always feel like people need to qualify. Oh, well, I heard that she was like a bitch at a restaurant once. It's like I was probably a bitch at a restaurant once. You know.
Yeah, I remember when you were.
Oh, was I?
Kidding.
No.
Oh my God, you're so worried.
No, but I was. Maybe I'll save this for like an Only Mary's catch up. But I did get a little mean with someone on a customer service person, but they were not being helpful about a very important issue, and I was pretty Shirley MacLaine give my daughter the shot about it, and I'm still reeling from it, but I think I'm right. Anyway, point being.
Sometimes the DMV is the DMV.
Yeah.
I get what you mean.
Yeah, thank you. Sometimes the DMV is the DMV. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really want to talk about the witchcraft conversation. I thought it was sweet and cute, and it was like, all right, moving on.
There was
Akira wants her own funeral home. That's cool.
Yeah,
You know?
there's a great part where Raja like breaks the fourth wall when Akira says that she wants the funeral home. That was like great. It was a nice little nuance. And then it did seem like there was a moment where I was like, oh my God, Eureka hurt her knee again. For God's sake, I was like, oh no.
Oh no, they
No.
weren't going to do that to her.
No.
I want to talk about Kylie's win. Again, we haven't talked enough about Kylie. Granted, I hear what the pit stop is saying. It's not totally goth, and I was getting Fantasia. Like there is a goth quality to it, but there's two things I want to say. First of all, I don't know if you've been noticing in the past weeks, but there is a part every episode where the winner of the challenge needs to sort of mug for the camera as they decide which lipstick to pick.
Yeah, I mean, there's always some element of that. There's always where I catch it is when they're talking one-on-one with the queens and they say, I haven't made up my mind yet. I just don't know what to do. I always feel like that's fake.
Okay. Well, it's definitely fake when the director is like, look like you're thinking, right? Like that's the direction. I have to say the winner of this challenge, of this mug for the camera when you're deciding, is last week with Ginger. Please go back and watch it, Marys. It's hilarious seeing Ginger like wring her hands, like which one am I gonna pick? It's very funny. Give her the Oscar. This week we had Kylie Sonique Love, Hewitt, Michelle Gellar Lang, and she didn't really give much until she put the lipstick in her boob. And I just have to say, this under boob cleavage is the moment. I live.
You know, I don't know if anyone. I'm gay, and I'm like really gay. Like it's the way the good Lord made me. You know, and so I have. Oh my God, I was mesmerized. and there was like, oh, she wants me to look at her boobs. Like I'm supposed to be like, she's like, yeah, look at like they're called boobs, Mary.
Ed.
Yeah, and so. Honestly, both times I watched the lip sync, I have no idea how well she did in terms of getting the words because I was like a 12-year-old boy watching scrambled porn. I was
When are you a 12-year-old
12-year-old, 9-year-old boy. Like, I was just like looking for nipple slips, looking for nipples. I was like, oh my God, I'm fascinated.
How are they staying on?
How is that staying on? And wanting the boobs to just come out. I'm like, yes, just bring them out. Come, like it's what we all want, And I just got so like heterosexual. I was like, oh wow, like
I don't think I was getting heterosexual. I was like, oh, bitch, work. Oh, you're fucking killing it. Look at you, looking gorgeous. And it wasn't even just under boob cleavage. She like had 3 stripes with 2 of them were like invisible. Like it was so cool. It was so cool to see that outfit. She looked fucking phenomenal. The most famous boob cleavage that I can think of, and I know that there's a lot. It's like an in thing now, the under boob. But I think of the Anna Wintour video by Azalea Banks, and it's like, am I gonna see your boobs?
Which I did
Is that
watch.
just gonna-
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
You know what I'm talking about. She's like shaking and stuff. I don't know how Kylie did all of these acrobatics and not worry about that. Because, like, sure, I understand, like, the fashion will make it or tape or whatever. But, like, how are you not concerned for fuck that you're going to come out of that flip into a split and... Your boobs are hanging out,
Well, it's the
What if
same-
there's a key moment in the lip sync, and oops, my bosoms come flying out.
Your uniform pops open. Yeah.
Yes.
It's the same kind of conversation we have about tucking. It's like, how do you do that? Don't you worry
Right.
about like where does it go? Like I think it's actually, I kind of love this now that we're talking about it because it's like there's so much about tucking and the illusion and how do you achieve this and the sort of magic of that. And then with someone like Kylie, it's like, oh, well, she doesn't have to tuck and she has breasts. So like the illusion isn't the same. And I'm like, well, no, aren't we having the same experience with Kylie right now of like, how are you maintaining this illusion? Like, isn't that really all we're looking for with drag is how are you maintaining this illusion? So I kind of
totally.
love that, like, I love her variation on like the drama of tucking, the drama of like tucking your nipples. It's, I don't know. It's just I think that's an interesting point, so to speak. No pun intended.
You love boobs, Ed.
I love boobs, Ed, apparently. Yeah.
I have to just praise this lip sync for a second. First of all, I love this song. But second of all, both of them sung or lip synced the ad-lib vocal over the last chorus, which is the sign of a masterful lip syncer, knowing that you're not supposed to sing the chorus, you're supposed to sing the solo above it. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again and point it out. They both did it here, and that's what you need to do. For people that want to lip sync the whole song and you're not doing a mix and you get to the third chorus, do the solo that's over what you already lip synced. Brava.
Yeah. It was, I mean, Manila is a great old pro energy. I think Kylie clearly won this, but it was, nice to see Manila again. I think, in terms of, like, there were really no surprises. I expected Kylie to win. I expected Akuria to go home. I think Akuria expected to go home.
Yeah.
There were no real, I was wondering if there'd be a shock, but there was no surprises here.
At the bar, there were these queens next to me that were like, biting their nails, like very nervous. They had no idea
that there'd be a goop. Yeah.
Yeah, they thought like that their queen, who they loved. Oh God, they were screaming so loud for Raja. It was so funny.
Raja, the Julianne Moore of the group. I mean, only Mary's at our $10 level. We'll hear more of our thoughts this week on Julianne Moore, but the talking through tears that we got from Raja and we've been getting from Raja, it's so good. I would love to one day do like talking through tears of Drag Race because
she's a beautiful crier.
She's so good at it. Just the idea of doing an episode or researching an episode for talking through tears of Drag Race. I am so aroused.
One moment that I loved in this, at the end of this episode, is what Kylie says to Akira. She says, "Bitch, you know I live." I just love that sentiment.
Yeah.
Bitch, you know I live.
It's very Chi-Chi to Kennedy. I love you.
Yeah. Bitch, you know I live. I had to send you home, darling. Bitch, you know I live. Just the nuance of how she says live. Bitch, you know I live.
That sort of southern lilt on live. Yeah. She, it was definitely it was a positive ending. I felt like there was a laugh and a hug between Raj and Akira. Akira had a good spirit about it all. I think, we never really talked about it this season, but I felt like Akira and Trinity were giving me Asia and Monet vibes, like about the whole trade thing. Like it reminded me of Asia and the sponge dress. I mean, like I'm not giving it to you. There was that same vibe here about the whole like being the trade of the season. And I'm just so happy Trinity was part of that little thing. But just I always appreciate that from Akira, that sort of anti-Akira energy.
Yeah, Trinity. It feels like Trinity has Eureka. Right.
Now we've got Urinity, which sounds like some sort of, breaks up kidney stones.
Urinity.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna
talk to your
say
doctor about
Urinity.
urinity,
Urinity, yeah. Or, yeah. No, I'm going to stop that conversation right there.
I'm picturing Q-tips going in urethras. Yeah.
Another nuance of Ms. Kylie, God, she's doing it. She's warming up the hearts, but she says, "I love Machino. I'm going straight there."
Oh, right, because she gets that she gets
the Italian stay.
She's going under the Tuscan sun. Yeah, she's where does she take the day trip to in that movie?
I'm going straight there.
Where does Diane Lane go?
In Tuscany?
Yeah,
in Tuscany?
Under the Tuscan sun. Where does Diane Lane go? Where she meets the hot guy?
You mean?
In the movie that you love.
Oh, when she goes down to Positano.
Positano,
down
that's
there?
what it was. Yeah. Yes. Doesn't start with an M at all. Yeah.
Well, because she meets him in Rome, doesn't she? When she's going to pick up like a light fixture or something.
Oh, right. Then they go to Positano or whatever. In any event,
and that's a long drive. That's a very long drive.
Yeah, you have to do a potty break at some point on that trip. But it's just, it's good to know. I don't know if they have like a Getty you can stop at or a Bolo market. But so one other thing I just want to ask, and I feel like this is something, honestly, every week, as great as this lip sync was, I can't help but ask WWTKBD, Like every lip sync, WWTKBD.
No, I know. It's like Jan's Jukebox. You want Trinity to do the lip sync after each one.
Just to know what she would do.
Yeah, just to know what she would do. It's interesting to think about that, right? It's like, these queens put out the looks that they would have brought, but now it's like, well, what would you have done in the lip sync?
Yeah.
And put that out there.
Right, because a queen like Trinity, I would absolutely want to see that because
I'd pay money.
Yeah.
I would pay a weekly amount
to
see that.
Right, where she'll put on a little digital show every week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So that, put it on a tote bag, WWTKBD,
I feel like Ginger would have made it like dirty, like getting dirty in the mud,
I think that she would have probably had a similar, campy comedic approach as last week. I much like last week where I'm glad we got Ginger because she had such a great take on that. And more I think about that lip sync, I just, that hair, that funny walk, I'm not saying it's up there with some of what Dita did and this will be, but it is platinum tier lip sync choices,
it was very much a Ben de la Creme type of performance where she
Anaconda,
yeah,